play bump. Welcome back to Good Morning Greyhounds. My name is Elijah Sutton, and we are here with Dr. Stephanie Wideman, and she is an assistant professor of communication, director of forensic speech and debate team, and the co-director at the Gender Center at UIndy. She earned her doctorate at Wayne State University in the communication studies. Joining her today is Senior Whitney Wilson, the current president of the forensic speech and debate team, the executive of Top Dog, UIndy's public relations entity, and the vice president of the UIndy PRSSA chapter. So, guys, how are you doing this morning? How are you?
Great. It's good to be here.
Yeah, it is good to be here. Thanks for inviting us on.
Of course. Well, of course, you guys are the forensic speech and debate team, and you guys do multiple competitions throughout the year. And we recently heard that you went to Japan. Could you tell us a little bit about how you went to Japan, how that trip was, what went on, and were you able to do anything besides like debate?
Mm-hmm. You go ahead and start.
Okay, yeah. So, first of all, we were supposed to go to Mexico City last year, and we had the funds and everything from the Shaheen College. It was a grant, and then that IFA tournament got canceled and moved online. So we were kind of disappointed.
Was that like due to COVID?
Due to COVID,
oh,
yeah. So we thought we were in the clear, but then, you know how it goes.
Yeah.
But, so this year, we were like, oh, maybe it won't happen. But someone lit a fire under Stephanie's feet, and she got on it. She was like, this can actually happen. So it was like from September when we started looking into it and planning it. And we secured the funds from the Yvonne Shaheen funds. When was that? What month was that? Like November?
Yeah, we had to start applying for them in September. And just to give like a little bit of a background, when we say IFA, we're talking about the International Forensics Association.
Okay.
So they hold an annual championship where they invite schools from around the world to come. I think this was its 36th year, but Whitney's right. For the past 2 years before that, COVID had put it online, which kind of, we missed some of the magic of traveling to other countries. When we were left to just be in front of a camera in the speech room here at Esch Hall. Not that Esch Hall isn't lovely.
It's lovely here. The windows. Yeah. So we finally got the chance to go abroad, and I think that was Stephanie's first time taking a team out of the country, and so we got there. We competed for 2 days. Which competitions are usually like 1 day, but since it was so big and so many schools represented, it was 2. And then the rest of the time we kind of did cultural things. We took a 6-hour walking tour of Tokyo.
Oh, wow.
Tokyo is very big.
I was going to say, how is that as an avid anime fan?
Yeah, yeah. So there's like different districts of Tokyo, and unfortunately we didn't go to the anime district, but it is really big. We went to Shibuya, which is like the Times Square of Tokyo, and it was giant. They have like a famous like walking. It's like, you know how like a regular crosswalks are like square? Yeah. This one also went diagonal, and so like. Okay,
I've only seen that in like YouTube videos and stuff. I didn't know that was real.
Yeah, it's a real thing. And so like hundreds of people at one time would like walk. So, and then our last day in Japan, we went to Tokyo Sea, which is like a part of Tokyo Disney. That was really cool.
I like that.
Yeah.
So you mentioned the IFA competitions, and I was going to ask, is that held in the same spot each year, or is it going to be in different
No,
areas?
it changes every year. And there's when we're choosing which championships we're going to go on for the team, we have to think about what funds are available, what students we have, where we're best strategically set up to do well. And I knew with the 3 varsity that we had, which is Whitney Wilson, Bhumibol Shakya, and Elise Paz, that we were going to be pretty well set up to go on an international level. A lot of our events, our speeches, topics had some sort of international appeal to it as well. So yeah, they change.
What topics? I was going to say what topics, if you don't mind.
Oh, well, Whitney, go ahead and talk about yours.
So in speech and debate, there's like, we did the speech part of it. And so there's a few different like categories you can compete in. One of them I did is ADS, which is after dinner speaking. And it's like a funny info / persuasion, whatever like you do, but it's supposed to make people laugh. So I did one about cults, which I, off topic, but I used to be a part of a cult. I grew up in one. So like my senior year, I wanted to do something very personal. And so we also brought in the Japanese aspect of it because they have had a few major cults come out, one of them being Aum Shinrikyo, and now it's technically like a terrorist like organization, but and so it actually I brought in like how like those cults changed Japan and like their history and their culture.
Oh, that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
So I would imagine since you're able to go across all these competitions, I can clearly tell that you are very literate and know how to speak out loud, very great at that. So could you tell me how you actually became president of the speech and debate team?
It was a coup.
Yeah.
A well-staged coup.
Yeah, no, not like that.
Are you sure?
Yeah, so I've been competing for 4 years. I started my freshman year, and I did some in high school, but I came from a small high school, and so we just showed up and like we're like, okay, well, that was fun. So it wasn't very serious in high school, but after deciding to come to UIndy, I met Stephanie on like my first day. It was like the GREYHOUNDS day, like experience when you come and meet people. And my mom had mentioned like, oh yeah, she did like speech and debate in high school. And Stephanie was like, oh, okay, come here. So I signed with the speech and debate team, and then my first year, it was kind of rough. I was very tiny. Like, I'm a tiny person, and my voice did not carry very well.
I can see that's changed now.
Yeah, that's good. So sophomore year, it was all online. Junior year, it was all online due to COVID. But sometime during that period, Stephanie really helped me find my voice. And I think mostly it's due to the fact like I grew as a person here, but there's certain techniques that she helped me with, like speaking from your diaphragm, confidence. She always tells us to like, before you do a speech, like stand like in a star pose like this, and psychologically it's supposed to help you like have confidence and speak well. So those are some techniques that she did. And so my senior year, the person who was the speech and debate president before me, they kind of wanted to step back, and so I was like, I'll do it. So
that's pretty cool. It's
been a really great journey, like this year supporting the team, giving pep talks before tournaments.
Oh, so you're like the captain too.
Yeah, yeah, making sure everyone is memorized, running speeches, so it's been fun.
So Stephanie, she said that you helped her find her voice and kind of coached her into the position. So I can tell that you have to be proud of that, I would say.
I mean, I think for all professors, the reason we do it is because you get this chance to be able to see students grow, to blossom. And Whitney's just a really good example of that. When she first came in, I think, what was her claim to fame? It was like, I believe I got like 4th place in interviewing in high school. And that,
oh, wow.
Not a big deal.
Yeah. So just being able to help them, they have a voice, but being able to help them amplify it and have the confidence behind it is amazing. And it's really fascinating when you get them for 4 years, as I've had Whitney on the team for 4 years, and the other two who are seniors, and kind of being like, we're going to miss you, but I can tell by the way you carry yourself, by the way you accomplish things, that you're ready to graduate.
That's so cool. Well, I kind of want to go back to the trip to Japan, and you were telling me a little bit about the actual competitions that went on before we got into the cultural aspect. So after that, could you actually tell me about the competitions that went on over there?
Yeah.
Well, okay, so it is a speech and debate competition. So you have your debate events that are going on, which most of them, I believe, were in what we call a British parliamentary style.
Okay.
And then you also have your more speech-centered events. And your speech-centered events are like persuasion speaking, informative speaking. We also have a set of 2 events that are limited preparation speaking, which is one of my favorites personally. One is extemporaneous, the other is impromptu. And what it does is it trains students to have to be able to think on their feet really, really quickly. Be able to prep basically a 5 to 6 minute speech in a minute and a half.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, they do a different topic every single round. I love it. It's so transferable too to students. I mean, I know myself as a professor, I competed in it when I was an undergrad, in extemp and impromptu, and it's one of those skill sets that stays with you and helps you so much in your life. We also have interp. Interp, for lack of a better term, I guess you'd call it like competitive acting, which Whitney has done all 3 of these at different times. So this year there was a prose, and then you refused to do impromptu anymore, even though you should have. But also ADS was her big event. So those happen. We were out at the Tokyo Bay Hilton. Yeah, it was really great being on the bay there, getting to experience the culture and compete within it. And then we had 2 full days, long days of competition, long days of judging. But we got to meet a lot of people. I mean, we went on that 6-hour tour with some students from Vanderbilt University, and it was really nice to be able to exchange internationally, but also like have an American inter-university conversations.
Yeah, I was going to say, so with that, I was going to say, because you were able to have those cross-cultural connections while also having other American schools with you, was it really nice to feel that like comfort, or it felt like more like you had someone with you, even though it wasn't like necessarily from your school, necessarily someone you knew, but it was like someone with that similarity? It like made you more comfortable at the competition, made you more comfortable there?
Yeah, I think so. Like if I was sitting outside, like waiting to go into a room for to give my speech, I would talk to other students and be like, oh, like what part of like America are you from, and stuff like that. And like there's people from California, everywhere. I'm not gonna name specific states, but yeah, and it was just crazy to see how many people like, they're like, yeah, we came to Japan for this. And I'm like, it's just crazy to see that.
Well, of course, I'm gonna have to ask you, what was easily your favorite part of this trip?
Oh, for me, it was the food. It was really good.
Any specific dish?
We had traditional ramen.
Yes.
It was amazing. We went to like, what's it called?
Ichiran.
Yeah, which means number 1 in Japanese. And like the restaurant was very interesting. Like they kind of have it set up so like you don't have to talk to people when you go. And you sit in like this little booth, and if you like, the waitress, like you push a button and they like open up this thing in front of you, and you don't see their face. It's like only here and below, and then they just give you your food.
That's
and
really
I was
cool.
like, okay, I kind of like that, because when you eat ramen, you know, it's a mess.
Exactly.
You don't want people
especially
to
with
see
chopsticks, and you're new
Yeah.
to it. I appreciated my shame with the chopsticks being contained into an area.
I would imagine.
Yeah, it was awesome.
So you talked a little bit about your transferable skills as you came out of the university, and I actually saw that you are the co-founder and lead consultant for Circle City Communication Consultants. Could you tell me a little bit about that business and like what you guys do and how that came to be, possibly?
Well, for Circle City Communication, that was kind of an outgrowth for something that I did when I was in Detroit and getting my doctorate. We had kind of a consortium of PhD students. It was really interesting how easily that sort of the need or the niche became apparent. I mean, because communication skills are almost ubiquitous, but also people are afraid of them, right? So we put up a website initially in those years in Detroit, and then just immediately had, you know, hospital departments coming in. We had the Canadian office for the Canadian ambassador come in. So when I got here, I saw a similar type of need, and I wanted to do that. And I also worked with other professors on it as well. It is fascinating to see. For some people, it's because, and here's a plug for our basic course. Some people who didn't pay attention to our equivalent of COM 100.
Yes.
And then later got out in their career and found their career kind of stymied because they hadn't taken the time to really focus on their own communication skills.
Yes.
And then there's just some people trying to take it to the next level. But the same type of skills that we use for the team, that personal coaching, is the same type of way that I use it when I'm doing consulting as well.
Wow, that's really cool. So would you ever think about going into the same area as Stephanie?
She's more of like the rhetoric, like communication part. I'm more of the PR. I do like PR a lot. I also have an electronic media concentration, so I'm more on the opposite end of her. She does like, she has her undergrad in PR.
Yeah, my undergrad's in PR.
Yeah, so I don't like rhetoric as much as she does.
Okay, rhetoric is amazing. Let's not hate.
Yeah, I'm not hating on
We're not hating on Aristotle here. He's lasted 2,700 years and has good advice, but she is more on probably the applied strategic side of it. Whereas a lot of the work that I do as a professor is going to be research.
Yeah.
By the way, when we're using the term rhetoric, we're talking about means through which people come to be persuaded. So that's the area.
That's pretty cool. Well, we'll have more for this conversation after the break, after this quick break.
Man, we gotta take Bryce Young, right?
What did you say?
No, it's Bryce Young. It's obviously Bryce Young.
C.J. Stroud, the obvious pick for Steichen and the Colts.
Ohio State quarterbacks, we know they don't win.
Come on, he's got the whole offense handed to him. Check out Last Call. We've got all the sports info you need from around the nation and right here on campus, plenty of UND sports.
College football and college basketball.
The NFL.
The NBA.
MLB.
Don't forget about motorsports.
And I'll give you all the gambling picks you need to know to make some money right here on Last Call, Mondays at 4 o'clock on YouTube.
The world's a crazy place, and it's only getting crazier. And it seems like no one wants to talk about it. So I'm going to. That's why I created Real Talk, a roundtable discussion show where each week I bring on different guests to talk about hot-button issues in society. Join me every week to get your questions answered, Wednesdays at 1 p.m.
Hey, it's Giselle here on 88.7 WICR.
88.7 The Diamond, the only jazz and classical station in Indianapolis, completely led by the students of the University of Indianapolis. Listen to us on iHeartRadio, TuneIn app, FM radio, HD radios, or even on our website at wicronline.org, a different kind of public radio.
Welcome back to Good Morning Greyhounds. I'm Elijah Sutton, and I am still here with Stephanie Wideman and Whitney Wilson. They were recently telling me about their trip to Japan. So could you guys possibly tell me a little more about different competitions you do, that maybe previous competitions and future competitions coming up, where you've been and where you want to possibly go, and if there will be any more international competitions possibly?
Yeah. I know every year we always go to some in-state, like Ball State, Butler. They always hold one once a year. And then this year we actually held our own at the university. We kind of did a swing with Butler, which means that like one day we do it and then the next day, usually on a Sunday, Butler does it. So it's like 2 days of competing. A little tiresome, but
yeah.
So Stephanie, she literally did the whole thing by herself. Which was amazing, and honestly, it went really well. For our first tournament back in person since, 2019?
Well, yeah, it was 2020, our national season, and our state, I don't know if state championship, but it was right before our nationals that the pandemic hit. And then from there, 2 years of your time?
Yeah.
Basically, really 2.5 years, where they should have been traveling nationally, going up against students from other universities. They weren't able to do that. So that was also kind of why we wanted to make the Japan trip happen, because they had held the team together during COVID. And this was almost like a celebration of, hey, we're able to come out of our houses. Even past that, we're able to leave the country and come back safely after a great trip. So yeah, it's nice to see.
That's pretty cool. So you got to spend half your time basically doing speech and debate, like during the pandemic, and then half outside of it. How does those two compare and go hand in hand? Like, what's the big differences there? Besides they're clearly in person, now the person.
Yeah, so the biggest difference in person, I think it's a little bit more nerve-wracking when you do in person, because when you're in front of a camera and you're talking, you don't have to make eye contact with the people. So like we competed over Zoom and other platforms. So you can seriously just like block off their face and be like, oh yeah, I'm talking to a wall. I didn't do that, but you could do that. So, and I feel like just because we were like competing from Esh or our apartments or our dorms, so that was a little bit more comfortable. It didn't really like have as much professionalism as like I'd be wearing a whole suit and then like just socks or like slippers. So definitely in person it's more professional, a little bit more stakes, I feel like, if you're talking to a crowd. Yeah.
Well, we definitely talked about that here in our department, where a lot of students do have different anxieties about public speaking and about being out in front of crowds, in front of people. And so we actually went out on campus to ask some of our students about their most embarrassing public speaking stories. So let's take a look.
I'm Garson Holt. I'm here on campus asking students what their most embarrassing public speaking story is. Come with me. I'm here with Derek Jones. Can you explain one of your most embarrassing public speaking stories, please?
Well, yeah, I can share. When I get nervous, I tend to stutter. And during one of my speeches, like I had my index cards up, and while I was trying to read it, I kept stuttering, so I just threw them, and then I was speaking normally. So I just thought it was embarrassing because I stuttered.
Thank you very much. Thank you so much. You can go ahead and go. Have a good day. That was such a loser. Oh my God. I'm here with Shaquan Logan. Can you tell me about one of your most embarrassing public speaking stories?
One of my most embarrassing public speaking stories? I remember I had a public speaking class here, and I had to do a public speaking assignment on how to sell lemonade. I didn't make the pitch because I was stuttering. Yeah.
Is that it?
Honestly, yeah. It was kind of embarrassing. I was sweating a lot. Like, you could see it through my shirt.
At least you didn't pee your pants or something.
No, I don't pee my pants, but I was sweating a lot. Like, you could see the sweat through my shirt. It was kind of nasty.
Period. Okay, you have a good day. Thank you so much. Nice to meet you. Okay, I'm here with legend Big Jew. Big Jew, can you tell me your most embarrassing public speaking story?
I think almost every single one is embarrassing. Keep stuttering, stuff like that. But I think the first one where I talked in front of a bigger crowd, I think that one was the most embarrassing one, because I completely forgot what I was going to say, and I stood there for like 3 minutes not saying anything, just looking at people.
Is that it? You didn't like throw up or anything?
Oh, no. Somebody did that?
Oh, I don't know if they did. Somebody peed their pants earlier.
Nah.
Oh, okay. All right, thank you so much. Have a good day. Oh my God. I'm here with Mia Lempuel. Can you tell me about your most embarrassing public speaking moment?
Well, I mean, I don't really do a lot of public speaking, but I could tell you about my most embarrassing moment ever.
Yeah, go ahead.
Well, one time I was at camp, and we went canoeing, and I really had to go, and I had to wade into a lake and do my business there. So, but nobody detected me. It was great. I snuck away. But that was pretty mortifying. I mean,
we all make our mistakes, you know?
Yeah, I was like 10, so I mean, it's not really representative of my character now, so.
Very girl boss of you.
Yeah, slay. I mean, you gotta go when you gotta go. I mean.
Exactly.
I was at a weekend-long camp. What was I supposed to do, guys? Yeah.
I love you, Mia. Have a good day. I'm here with Dryden Thomas. Can you tell me about your most embarrassing public speaking moment?
My most embarrassing public speaking moment? I don't know if I really have like a very embarrassing public speaking moment. There has been a few times, you're in class and you're just not prepared at all and you're just sweating and you're fumbling over your words. I had a presentation my sophomore year in one of my classes, and we just had to go up there, and my partner didn't prepare his half, so I had to do I did my half, and then I just had to read what slides he had up because he just didn't talk the presentation, and I had to just keep making stuff up to make sure we met the presentation time. And then the teacher just talked to us afterwards. She's like, it just sounded like you were rambling. She's like, it was fine, but like I think if you guys a B because I had no idea what you were saying for like a quarter of the presentation. So that was pretty embarrassing, but given the fact that we just didn't fail because we didn't have half of it, it was failed successfully, I think. So.
What was your grade?
In the class overall, A. On the project, B.
Loser. So. Okay. Have a good day. That's been it here on UND's campus. Bye!
So that was quite the intense video we just watched there. I personally can never say I've had to wade myself into some water walking through it. But I did have to read different PowerPoint slides from different classmates. I was like, speaking from personal experience, I used to have to lead keynotes for like my own diversity back in high school for president of BSU. And my probably most embarrassing story was that I just sat there on stage while I got stuck. I looked at him and I said, and just smiled at them. I was like, well, I was like, that's the end of that. I'm sure with your experiences and all the different debates and speeches you've had, I'm sure there has to be some kind of moments there.
Yeah, my freshman year, we had a state championship at Butler University, and you know, it's like all the colleges in the state come together. And I was a novice, so it was my first year, and we just came back from winter break, and I didn't memorize, like I didn't keep up with my speech, so it was like stuff from like a month ago.
And I'm assuming this wasn't an impromptu speech that
no.
was just happening.
No, definitely supposed to be memorized. 8 minutes long.
Yeah, and it was a persuasion about mental health epidemic on college campuses, which has definitely gotten worse since COVID. But it's basically like, oh, there's not enough resources, like college students, they're stressed out. And so I got up there and I started my intro, and I was like, I don't remember what's next. So and I was like, can I start over? Which I never do, and that's definitely going to drop your rank. And so they're like, yeah, of course. And so I was like, I started over, and I still couldn't remember. I started crying in the middle of my presentation, or like my speech. And so I was like, I'm just going to sit down, please. And they're like, okay, are you okay? I was like, yeah. And then like the next day I got my ballots back, and she was like, your speech seemed to be over mental health. Are you okay? No.
That's very. I was gonna say that's very ironic. That it was
yeah, it was ironic. It was embarrassing.
You became your own visual aid.
Yes, I was like, here's it in the flash.
I mean, but for Whitney and for the people that we saw on the video, part of this, skill set that you get is to be able to, I don't want to say fail, but be able to not perform the way you wanted to, but still be able to pick yourself up and do it again and again. And for everybody who talks about, oh gosh, I hate public speaking, it's so difficult, really the biggest cure for it is to just do it, right? And then you start to become more detached, your ego gets less attached to your performance, and then eventually you're more comfortable because you can trust yourself because of all the stories of success that you've had in the past.
Of course. I was gonna say, so what would be your advice to those people who were on screen telling those stories, or to your students, or advice that you possibly have to, Whitney?
I say in class, I think that there's a mythology about people hating public speaking. When I say mythology, what I mean is it's almost like universal, where people think they're supposed to hate public speaking.
Yes.
There's actually, like, if you go back to where the biggest time this came out, I think it was like in the 1970s, it was the London Sunday Times. And they maybe surveyed about 3,000 people in London at that time period. And what they found out was people's number one fear was public speaking. Number two was death. I think it's Jerry Seinfeld has a really funny joke about that, where he says, so if you put that together, if people are attending a funeral, most of them would prefer to be in the casket than giving the eulogy, right? It's a funny thing, but it really puts into perspective, like, this isn't life or death when we're talking about public speaking, but it is kind of an unusual skill set because your ego, who you are, all of that, your vulnerabilities, they tend to be connected to how you perform. So that's one of the main things we do, is just try to reset how people feel about public speaking.
Would you have any advice for them?
Okay, I recently competed with a speech that wasn't completely memorized, it wasn't fleshed out, and Stephanie just said, you know what, just go in there, do your thing, and be like, ha, okay, thanks. So just not taking it seriously, and then again, like, to make yourself feel confident, do the star pose, make yourself big, smile smile a lot. That's something that builds confidence. So.
Wow.
It's important to understand we have people at all different levels competing at different levels of preparation. So sometimes there's really nothing to do but just do it, and then learn from that experience.
Wow. Well, I love to talk more and love to have more advice from you guys, but sadly that's all the time that we have.
This is great, thanks.
But we loved having you here on Good Morning Greyhounds. Again, I'm Elijah Sutton. This is Stephanie Wideman. This is Whitney Wilson. Have a good day, guys.